We are on to cycle 2. In this cycle, we want to get a deeper understanding of what nature versus nurture really is. So I just want to remind you, nature is the way someone is born. You don't have a lot of control over it. Nurture is the way you were raised, so traits that you might get from your parents and the way you were raised. All right, we are going to start on page 150. Keep nature and nurture in mind. Following along, the accident of nature. All of us, had to go down to the police station, of course, where they took a bunch of pictures of the bruises on my neck. And they insisted I needed x rays. And so we had to go over to the hospital and get that done. And then go back to the police station again, which wore on my nerves almost as much as being kidnapped. Grim, the second time we go to the cops, he's sitting there in this room with me waiting. And he says, I can't tell what it felt like coming out of the basement and seeing that double track of footprints in the snow. I knew it was him. I just knew in my heart. I kept insisting that or he kept insisting that Graham go home, which he finally did because we were there at the police station for hours more. Me telling all about it over and over until I thought I would faint dead away if just one more person asked me what happened after I woke up in the dark and was stolen from my own bed. Grim, he just keeps patting me on the arm and saying, This is important, Max. Maybe this time they'll lock him up for good. That's what everybody keeps saying, that this time they've got Killer Kane where they want him. In violation of parole, in violation of a restraining order, abduction of a minor, and 2 counts of attempted murder. Me and the heroic biker babe, which is what the papers took to calling Loretta Lee. The word is she's hurt pretty bad because he cracked a bone in her neck, but she'll be okay in the long run. Iggy, when I saw him that time in the hospital waiting, he was chewing a hole right through his beard. He was so worried, and it made me think he wasn't such a bad dude after all. It all goes to show, like Graham says, you can't always judge a book by its cover. I want to pause there because if you think about it, Grimm was judging Freak by his cover earlier in the book, right? He said he was talking about how scared he was that Max was getting so big and how he might be like his dad. But I think this kind of shows that Grimm has learned that Max is better than his dad. Um, he's not all the way like him, and you can't judge a book by his cover. It turns out to be a pretty weird Christmas vacation, as you might imagine, and Graham keeps fussing at me and won't let me sleep in the cellar. We're at the top of page 152. I don't care if he is under lock and key, she says. Grim, he says, please humor the woman. She's worried about to death, and so I sleep upstairs on the fold-out, and at night Graham keeps checking to see I'm there. Which is a pain, but she can't help herself, and anyhow, I'm just as glad not to be alone in the down under. Freak. Well, the fair Gwen just about threw a fit when she got him home because of him disobeying a direct order and sneaking away to rescue me. But after a while, she calms down and all she does is just look at him and shake her head. What am I gonna do with you? She asks. Put me up for adoption, he says. I wanna go live with the Waltons. He means the TV show. That keeps repeating, and of course, he's teasing her. But the fair Gwen is not amused. No more crazy adventures or dangerous quests, young man. You have to be careful, she keeps saying. Extra careful. She means the trouble he has sometimes catching his breath because of the way his insides keep growing faster than his outsides, which hasn't really grown at all. At the top of page 153, Freak goes into the medical research place every few months, which he says is a real pain, not that it actually hurts. Dr. Spivak says my unique status as a marvel of genetic aberration makes me an object of intense curiosity. He says in that lofty way of his, so like high up, superior way. Specialists from the world over are familiar with my case. What about the secret operation? I ask when the fair Gwen can't hear us. The one where you'll get a robot body. Freak gets this very cool scientific look on his face. And he always says the same thing. The bionic research continues, my friend. The work goes on. We're going to pause there, and I'd like you to try to figure out whether Freak's condition is a result of nature or nurture. So let's reread this conversation about Dr. Spivak again and kind of go into what those vocab words are. Dr. Spivak says my unique status as a marvel is something that causes wonder or astonishment. It's like, wow. Uh, of genetic aberration is something different, so something that's not normal. So his different genetics makes him an object of intense curiosity. He says that in his lofty way. Lofty is superior, like I said. Um, Specialists from all over the world are familiar with my case. So Freak's condition, it's genetic. So would that make it nature, the way he's born, or nurture, something he was raised with, something that would change if he lived somewhere else? When you've made your choice, move on to cycle 3.